Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Now let's move on to the third type of reaction, which is reaction with acid. So you know that metals have a basic trait to them because their oxides are basic. So that is why they react with acids and they form a salt and release H2 gas. So I've not mentioned an example here, but for example we can take sodium plus HCl will lead to NaCl plus H2O. So basically this hydrogen is replaced from its own compound, which is this acid, and the metal takes its place. So this place is again taken by a metal and the hydrogen gets displaced. This is a single displacement reaction if you want to relate it to the first chapter. So the idea is that metal will react with dilute acid to form salt and release hydrogen gas, right? There's an exception here, but before we get into that, first let's understand that metals will react with dilute acid and will form a salt and release hydrogen gas. Almost all metals will show this reaction if the acid is strong enough. Now there is one exception, of course, the exception of nitric acid. So nitric acid is HNO3, as you already know. So HNO3 is a very strong oxidizing agent as well. It is such a strong oxidizing agent that this H2 gas produced in the reaction, this gas also gets oxidized to water and HNO3 reduces itself to something like NO2, N2O or N2O. So the nitrogen reduces itself to its form of oxide, a lower form of oxide. It loses one of the oxygen, like from NO3 it loses one oxygen, and it oxidizes the hydrogen gas into water. This is an exception. This rule is only true for HNO3. If it is HCl or H2SO4, then they will react in this fashion to form salt and hydrogen gas. But if it is HNO3, then they will form water and a lower form of nitrogen oxide. Magnesium and manganese are an exception to this rule. They do react with HNO3, but they release H2 because in that case it is not possible for HNO3 to oxidize the hydrogen gas produced. So that is about an exception here. You must remember this because in certain times you have this instinct of saying that metal will react with an acid to form salt and hydrogen gas, but it is this exception which is because of the property of oxidizing of HNO3. Okay. Now there is one special kind of acid. It is actually just a mixture of 3 parts to 1 part of HCl to HNO3. So if we mix 3 parts of HCl and 1 part of HNO3, then the mixture is called as aqua regia. This mixture is highly reactive. It is so reactive that it can even extract gold from its element. So if I put a gold jewelry in a mixture of aqua regia, I can notice that the weight has reduced because the gold will get dissolved in this aqua regia. In fact, you might be asked a question like this. So there can be a question like a person goes to a goldsmith and they give the jewelry to the person and they dip it in a cleaning solution. The jewelry gets cleaned, but when coming back home they realize that the weight is reduced. So why has the weight reduced? Because aqua regia even corrodes elements like gold and silver, and that is why it is used often by goldsmiths as a trick to cheat people. And that is about that. So it's highly reactive mixture of 2 acids, and it can even corrode the least reactive metals like gold. Okay, so that is for the reaction of acids and metals. Now we have studied the reaction of metal with the oxygen, with water and with acid.